Every once in a while, I think on After Dark, I am going to dust off some of the old classics of ufology and talk about them. Not the big ones that everyone has heard about, but there are so many great UFO sightings that maybe some people haven't heard of, like the one we're going to talk about today. Have you heard about the great 1961 alien pancake social? If not, we're going to get to it in just a few minutes. But before we do that, let me take a minute to tell you a little bit about W energy drinks. W is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like a lot of those other energy drinks do. And before you think that maybe I'm just reading a copy, well, I am, but I also drink W each and every day. And trust me, you see the shaker behind me? You only need to drink one of those a day. 20 ounces. That's all you need. It keeps you set and alert each and every day with no crash. And it's only got 150 milligrams with vitamins and amino acids. So I think you should really check out W Energy Drinks. If you're interested, go to w.gg and check out the stock that they have available. And if there's something you want to buy, then don't forget to put Spock Rock when you're checking out, and you're going to save yourself 10%. It's W Energy Drinks. Give it a try. You won't be disappointed. Joe Simonton is about to take you on a journey that most of us have never been on. His UFO experience is quite a bit different than your normal everyday encounter. And normally I just overlap myself and pause when I want to make a comment, but I want everyone to be able to pay attention to the whole interview. So my ugly mug won't be on the bottom. And when I want to make some commentary, I'll just pause the video and come on here and say a few things. So, Joe, take it away.
Joe Simonton of Eagle River, Wisconsin, spins a yarn about an April morning in 1961. A morning when, he says, he came face to face with another world.
Right here is where this flying saucer, this UFO, landed. Right here about where I'm standing. And it was a big, huge thing, and I wondered what the heck it was. I was in my kitchen having a bite of lunch, and I turned around, put the dishes in the sink, and I looked out the window, and that's when I first saw this thing coming straight down, just like an elevator. And first I thought the roof went off of my house, and I thought, no, the roof is green, and this is bright. What the heck is it? So I rushed out to see what it was, and by that time there was a hatchway opening up in the top of it, just like the trunk of your car. And then there stood a little man, I say a little man, about 5 foot tall, holding up a jug or a container, and he motioned he wanted to drink. He motioned for water. So I walked up to him to get this jug, and I looked at his eyes, and they were so penetrating that I had to look away.
A lot of people are probably wondering why he went to the basement to get water. But you have to remember, this is rural Wisconsin in the early 1960s. Even then, there were a lot of houses, specifically in non urban areas, that didn't have indoor plumbing. So, yes, that meant if you needed to do your business, you had to go outside to the, well, let's just say you needed to go outside. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And like I said, there wasn't any running water. So a lot of times, what houses had to do was they had to dig a well. And this is Wisconsin and northern climate. It tends to get a little cold in the wintertime. So a lot of times, what those houses did was instead of digging their well outside, they dug it in the basement of the house so it didn't freeze in the wintertime. So that's why he was in the basement.
So I went to the basement to get this water, and I thought, well, they want water, so I'll take it up to them and see what happens. And with that, I brought the water up, and he was looking at me when I first came out of the basement. But I didn't look at his face until I got right up to him. Then I looked up, and I handed the jug up with both hands, and I had that same look in his eyes, a sort of a penetrating look. And when he took the water, I balanced myself with this hand against the machine, and I stepped back a few steps.
Now, you noticed earlier that he was very descriptive with the UFO, how it opened like a car trunk, etc., etc. But when he came to the point of actually touching the UFO, like he just said, steadying himself against the machine, he wasn't very descriptive. He just kind of said it in passing. And I found that puzzling because I don't know about you, but if I was to touch an alien spacecraft, I would be describing it every way that I possibly could. But he just seemed to skip over that part of it.
And then with that, he set the jug down, and he gave me a salute with the back of his hand, a gesture of thanks, I presume. And then, well, I gave him my salute. What am I going to do? So I noticed this little man, same size of a man, right to the right side of the hatchway, cooking these pancakes, which I have one here yet. He was frying these pancakes, and I pointed to him and made a gesture like eating. I thought maybe I'd get a conversation out of him. Nobody was saying anything. But he didn't say a word. He just reached over and he got a handful of them, 4 of them, and he handed them down to me. And they were hot and greasy. And this man cooking these pancakes, it was on a square grill-like concern. I couldn't see any flame, but it seemed to be very hot. There was smoke coming from it. And if that was their food, God help them, because I took a bite of one of them, and it tasted like a piece of cardboard. And if that's what they lived on, no wonder they're small. And with that, he reached up and he closed this hatch with a heavy thud click like when it latched. And you couldn't a bit more see where that hatch was than you could see a hole in my hand. And with that, the thing started to raise just like it came down. Everything was timed perfect. It went up about 20 feet. It tilted at 40.
At this point, he starts talking about the UFO's departure, and it's pretty standard with what everybody says when they see a UFO. It shoots off in a matter of seconds. The next portion of the video will be Project Blue Book head Hector Quintanilla talking about their investigation, specifically the pancakes in this case. And there was a TV show in the late 1970s called Project UFO. And what it was it took some of the more interesting Blue Book cases and turned them into hour-long episodic dramas. And Joe's case was one that they actually did, even though they changed it a little bit for, storytelling. It wasn't in Wisconsin. It was in Los Angeles. The old man was kind of a butler of this rich gentleman that was running for political office. But the actual UFO encounter was portrayed in the episode exactly as Joe has described it now. Project Blue Book and Project UFO are both available on YouTube to check out. So if you're interested in this stuff, check them out on YouTube.
45 degrees, straight south, and shot off. And within 2 or 3 seconds, it was out of sight. Well, there I stood in the driveway with a handful of greasy pancakes and my mouth open, wondering what the heck I saw, what had happened.
It is outside the realm of the Air Force to pass judgment on Mr. Simonton's case. However, the pancakes that he turned over to the Air Force were turned over to the Food and Drug people, and they were analyzed as pure buckwheat pancakes.
So it's good to know that the aliens also make buckwheat pancakes just like we do. So we have that in common. So what do you think with the whole 1961 alien pancake social? Do you think it's just a guy telling a yarn, spinning a tale? Or do you think maybe he has a little bit of truth involved in it? Me personally, I think that maybe he saw something, but maybe he just added a little bit to the story to draw a little attention to himself. I don't know that for 100% fact. It seems kind of out there. But it is interesting to me that Project Blue Book showed up and did so much investigating in his case. So clearly he saw something at some point. Maybe they didn't give him a pancake, but I'm thinking that maybe he saw something. But hey, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and we'll look into it a little bit more later on. Because remember, nothing good ever happens until after dark.